In 2022, John Smith and myself did a Q&A via Zoom call regarding the Maura case that was suggested by one of the Facebook groups. This was our first time using Zoom for a Q&A, and we still had some things to learn about the chroma key green screen backgrounds and having callers eliminate their background noises. But nonetheless, it's a great interview. Sit back and enjoy this multi-part series. You wanted the best, you got the best. The hottest podcast in the world, True Crime Monkey!
And I guess my question to John is, what's the biggest takeaway you'd like new listeners and followers to gain from this case? I'm not finished listening. I've had some misconceptions along the way. So for the new people, what's like your most important piece of either evidence or advice before finishing?
Well, I guess I would have to say that my biggest takeaway is that this case, I've been here for 18 years, and this case is so baffling to me. And, you know, I know the case pretty much inside and out. And I still have so many questions in my mind. And I find that to be just so confusing. And it shouldn't be that way, especially, you know, having contact with the family. I mean, which I think that, you know, I don't have any issues with the Murray family. I feel so bad for what they're going through. But, you know, working so closely with them and knowing what we know and being there for so many searches and everything, it seems to me that something nefarious happened. There's just so many things that surround a nefarious thing going down, and whether that be in Haverhill, New Hampshire, or whether that be at UMass, I do not know. But something about this case is very, very troubling to me and makes me ponder it every day. And I just think that you have to look at everything. You have to look at every aspect. You have to listen to other people's theories. And someone that's going to either come out and give away what happened, confess, or one of us people doing what we're doing. And I'm getting tired of doing what I'm doing. Sorry, but that's just the truth. But thank goodness there are so many new people on board that will keep going, keep digging, and maybe we're going to trip on the piece of the puzzle that's been missing. I hope that answers your question.
If I could throw one thing in there too, if you are new to the case, you'll see a lot of stuff out there. All of it isn't true. There are so few absolute facts to this case that you have to look at each of those and see how it fits into a particular theory or scenario that might know. I've never seen a case where you could have 5 different theories and enough circumstantial evidence to point to that theory, even all 5 of them being correct. And we know that's not possible. So just when you hear something out there, do your own investigation and see if you personally feel that that's more likely to be fact or more likely to be maybe urban legend rumor.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay. What's your name?
My name's Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi. John, thank you for everything you've done, all the investigating, and I appreciate you being here tonight. But I wanted to ask you, is there anything you have found out in your investigation that leads you to believe that Maura was not driving the car that night and in New Hampshire?
Yes. I've thought that for a long time. Nothing about the accident scene seems to be correct. There seems to be a lot of inaccuracies and inconsistencies that surround the timeline of that night. The police, basically dismissing witness A, Karen McNamara as being, totally wrong. She couldn't have seen what she saw, and basically threatening her. And I'm not saying that the police are involved in anything. I don't know, but there's so much that needs to be answered about that. And the fact that no one could really identify the person driving the vehicle that night. And I believe everyone cannot say with a 100% guarantee that it was Maura Murray at the scene at the Weathered Barn Corner on February 9th, 2004. No one can say that with certainty, except for somebody that was with her or somebody that took her. But there was also the chance that she never left Massachusetts, but her car did. That's a very good possibility, yes.
Thank
And
you
two-
for the answer.
Yeah,
You're
always keep in the back of your mind as well that even though most believe that Butch Atwood to be the last person to see her, he described her two different ways, actually three different ways, and also the position of the car. He had once spoken that she was on the other side against the snowbank, speaking over the car, which doesn't seem a physical possibility because if she were against the snowbank, she could not have opened the door. Just little things like that you have to look for as well. Some say her car was against the bank, others say it was in a ditch. You can look up the photos. If you've those who live up there and have ever been there, you can see there's very little chance to really be in a ditch and a snowbank be there at the same time. The ditch is fairly deep if there's no snow, but at that time, I think John will confirm it. I think there was probably almost 2 feet of a snowbank on the edges.
Yes.
So keep those things in mind when you're doing research on whether you think Maura was there at the scene or not.
Okay, thank you.
Let me throw out a question to everyone and kind of get their opinion. I'm sure everyone has seen the ATM photos, the stills. What is your feeling? Do you think those are authentic? Do you think they've been altered at all?
Good point. It's fine.
Anyone have an opinion?
I do.
Go ahead. Is this Michelle?
I don't know
Oh.
if I'm on.
Yeah, Michelle, I think I do hear you.
Yeah, I think they're altered. I thought they were right from the minute I seen them.
Yeah, the fact that they took so many years to be a release to the public, it makes it strange. All of us know any missing person case, we're usually seeing ATM photos that day or the next day, and this one was 13 years after the case.
I just don't understand why they didn't release the video, whether we got what we got out of it or not. I don't understand that part. I don't understand why we haven't seen the video of the liquor store. There's just so many things that we should have seen. Maybe we could have helped. Maybe we could still help, but nothing's being released.
Yep, good point. What's the reason to hide it? And that's one of the questions I've always had with this is why certain particular things, how do they restrict the case being prosecuted going forward? There are, especially Strells, and his excuse is always, it may jeopardize an open case. How does releasing photos of an ATM jeopardize a case?
Or
It could
the
only-
accident.
could only help. And the accident photos, yeah, we'll probably get into a few questions about that as well.
I mean, the whole thing makes no sense. I mean, this is going on 18 years, for crying out loud. I mean, give us something. Seems like they don't want to give us anything, because if they give us anything, we're going to be on it like flies on shit, excuse my language, and we just might figure this case out. So the least they give us the better off they are. That's how I
Right.
feel.
I would tend to agree with you, and I think that may be the reason they don't, because they're afraid we'll figure it out, especially if it's one of their own involved in some way. Those of you who've hung around for a while, and myself and John, and our theories on law enforcement involvement. Just because we say law enforcement involvement doesn't mean we think law enforcement is the actual one who maybe murdered Maura. It does mean that we feel that there's some kind of malfeasance, hiding, destruction of evidence. They know something,
I'd like to
and
comment
they're
on,
involved at some degree.
But what I did want to say about the ATM video and the liquor store videos was the most strange thing that I find about that is not only we as the public did not see the ATM video or the liquor store video for until 2017, I believe, 18. Not only that, but the Murrays had never been shown either one of those things. How can that be? Like we've said, in a missing persons case, that's what you put out. You put out the last known pictures of what they looked like, where, you know, what they were in. That's protocol. That is what is done. So for them to not even show the Murray family, to me, is one of the biggest red flags in this whole thing. Why? I have no idea. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just another one of those things that is so bizarre in this case that it just makes you shake your head.
If nothing else, you showed the family to go, can you confirm the identity of this person? I mean, based on them not showing it, it just means that, hey, they took their own word, this has got to be her, which, you know, turns a ton of red flags as well. At least show it to the, you know, the father or whomever. Can you confirm this is your daughter?
Yep.
All right, anyone else? Any questions?
Can you hear me?
Jeffrey, I see there's some questions on the side about the party.
Yep. Okay.
I would address that if that's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
The problem that I have about the party is that we've got several different stories as to who was there, who was doing what, where the party actually was, if it was on campus or if it was off campus at a frat house. And you know, we have her friends that were with her the weekend before she disappeared. In fact, almost the night before she disappeared. And they basically never cooperated with the police, told them very little. And, you know, when anyone tried to talk to them, they would not speak to them. I tried to talk to both Kate and Sarah 2 times many years ago, probably around 2006. The first time I spoke to them, they both said, sorry, we can't help you. And the second time I called them, I thought I'd try again. And they said, look, there's nothing we can do to help you. And they both hung up on me. And I mean, I kind of understand, you know, in a way, why they wouldn't want to talk to me personally, maybe because they don't know me. I'm not a police officer. I get it. But, you know, they didn't want to talk about that. And then the other fact that gets to me is that neither one of them, none of her college friends came to New Hampshire to help look for Maura Murray.
Yep, that is.
All right, I'm going to go to a couple people who have their hands up. Heather, go ahead. Heather Young.
Yes. All right. Well, okay. I'm curious about, I was asking the same thing about the party, you know, and you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. But I think it's kind of odd that, you know, you would think a friend would be like, oh my God, where's Maura? Oh my God, I don't know where she is. And not one person, as he said, has ever helped or has ever said, my friend is missing. My friend is, you know, like, it's just very frustrating. And what about and then I still find it also odd about the part about Maura being like so upset. But then we get 3 different, like, one person saying, oh yeah, she's upset. And then her sister's saying, well, no, she was fine on Saturday. So I don't know. I mean, was she really upset or was she just like, I need to get away? I don't know. So I don't know.
Well, I'll throw one thing out there. I personally do not believe what upset Maura was a call from Kathleen that night.
Thank you. Yes,
I just don't believe it's possible. And it's tragic that your
it is.
fiance picks you up from rehab and takes you to a liquor store. But to go comatose and, basically can't walk because of that, I don't buy it. I think there's more to that story, most likely.
And I think there's also more to her computer too. I feel like I just can't see her just saying, okay, today's the day I'm going to walk out the door. There's going to be more to it. And the fact that no one has seen her leave, kind of suspicious. I don't know.
That and the fact that they gave the computer and things back and Kathleen had possession of them, then the police came back and wanted it back in their possession once again. So could be that they were just looking, could be that they got some correspondence from somewhere else that knew something maybe on Maura's computer. I'm not sure. John, any
If I
comments
could
there?
say, if I can say just one more thing about the her friends.
Yes.
And in a recent TikTok video that Julie Murray put out, I believe that someone asked her the question, do you think that her girlfriends from college, the people at the party, know more? And Julie's answer was one word, yes. Yep. So, this is a Maura's sister saying that she believes that the people at the party know a lot more than they're saying.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, I think everyone who's looked at this case would have to think that both Sarah and Kate know way more than what they've said. All right, I'm gonna try to get. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Kate Pell.
I forgot now. I forget now. What else was I gonna say? I don't know. There's just
Okay. I'm gonna think about it for a second and we'll come back. I'm going to go over to the chat room for just a second here.
Yes.
I have one question. Hi, John. We have a question about the ATM photos. Why does her jacket appear white at the ATM? I thought she was last seen wearing a black jacket. Has that been explained?
Girl that got killed or disappeared.
The only thing that I can say about that is, of course,
like
really
obsessed by this.
We really do not know what she was wearing, other than what we see in the ATM video now. But originally we were told, by the last person to supposedly see Maura Murray, or as I like to say a lot, the driver of the Saturn on that night, was wearing a black, was seen last wearing a jeans and a black jacket, I believe is what it says. So there's quite a bit of, there's controversy there. I mean, yeah, she could have been wearing a jacket, that jacket at the ATM in Massachusetts, and then changed into a different jacket at a gas station, or, when she stopped to go to the bathroom or grab a bite at the McDonald's or whatever,
Now, all right. I have one more question. I have another question.
Okay.
What do you think about Rick Force? What's his name? Rick Force.
Rick Forcier.
Rick Forcier. About his so-called knowledge that he thinks he saw a girl running towards wherever he saw her running towards, the woods or something like that. Do you believe him?
No.
Well, I would have to say that I do not believe him. I'm not saying that he has any involvement in the disappearance of Maura Murray, but he created a shitstorm for himself by saying things to neighbors, by saying things to his ex-wife that put him in a huge focus of the police. And I mean, the police, spoke to him, talked to him, and I believe that they even had people that they were trying to get, to go wired and talked to him and stuff. And so they were very interested in him, even though I think at one time they said that they found his sighting to be credible. And that's another thing that brings into the, the picture, the fact that, she was seen running easterly, on Route 112, 4 to 5 miles from the site. And on that evening, no one went east of the intersection of Route 112 and Bradley Hill Road. So, he's told some pretty fantastical stories.
Yeah.
I know some of his background that other people don't know. I'm not going to put
Oh.
it out here because
No.
it's not for me to do. I'm sure if people did digging, they would find out. But if he would definitely be on my radar and has been on my radar. I won't say that
Wow.
he is.
Well, okay. And what do you think about, do you think Moore actually called Billy that day when he said that, oh, she doesn't want to talk to anybody right now? Remember those voicemails or whatever he supposedly got? Or do you think that's just was a rumor on the,
The
I-
voicemail was only the one at the airport. He
Yes.
allegedly got going through security. The other one where she said, I didn't really feel like talking to anybody today. That was allegedly in an email, I believe.
Yes,
Oh, it's an email. Okay.
correct.
Do you think
The
her
problem
email holds a key?
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
The problem
ahead.
I have with that voicemail, that whimpering, crying, is that they said
Yeah.
they can't track the call because it was from a calling card. Although they tracked the card to Red Cross. So which one is it? Either you can or you can't. I don't get it. The whole thing is
Exactly.
bullshit.
The only thing I can think of on that particular case, I don't believe the story they're telling us is completely true either. But any of us who've been around a while remember how the calling cards worked. There was a number you would call, your regular 10-digit number. Then you would put in a sequence of other numbers. Those sequence of other numbers, I believe, or may have been traceable to that card was issued to the Red Cross. As far as that call going to the Red Cross itself, I don't know about that.
Well,
There would have been no
supposedly
reason for them to have been open at that time for starters.
I didn't believe they had Billy's cell phone number at the time either. Didn't Sharon call originally and they had her number? So that's the part I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know how or why they would have had Billy's. I know a lot of people in the beginning speculated they were trying to assist him with some kind of emergency leave, but as we now found out, that didn't happen. There was no emergency leave. I forget the terminology of the leave that he actually did end up having, but it wasn't what we were told for so many years.
Right.
Hmm. Interesting.
John, any comments on that one?
Short and sweet. You guys, as far as I'm concerned, have it spot on. I have big, serious problems with the cell phone records as well as the calls that were supposedly from the Red Cross to the Red Cross by the Red Cross. Yeah, none of it has made any sense to me. And I don't think that we've ever gotten a straight answer as to
Why would the Red Cross need calling cards?
Thank you.
The Red Cross does hand out calling cards. If you've ever been to, say, a flood or tornado, hurricane,
Yeah,
they will go in and
victims.
distribute cards to tons of people so they can call relatives for free.
But
so
these-
that's the issue right there, is that the Red Cross call might not have been coming from the Red Cross. It was coming from a Red Cross calling card, which means that it could have been anyone that had it. Now, Red Cross calling cards are given to people that are deployed, people in the Army. And what if Billy had given Maura one of these? Okay, and Maura
or a
was the
victim
actual.
of something. I don't get it. I still don't get it. I guess I'll never get it because it doesn't make any sense. And the call that Soha went on to Bunger Road the same night Maura was missing, that Lifeline call, which makes no sense, and all with what's her name, the one that was walking up to the store, she's involved in it. Yeah, Robinson, she's involved in it, and it so happens all this little clique in this little area on this lonely February 9th night just like really seriously makes no sense. Like, of all places for a Lifeline call is Cecil Smith's parents' residence.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that make no sense for a town of 4,000 people at that time. If you take a look at, I know we've put out there, I've not put out there, several people have seen the 2004 annual report from Haverhill. In a town of 4,000 people, you don't have 3 kidnappings and X amount of rapes and X amount of assaults, X amount of intimidations. There's a lot more going on in that small little hamlet than probably most people are aware of, other than the folks that actually live there.
Now, there's another thing that people have been like questioning on, which I don't understand. Something about the Domino's pizza that Maura, I think, called one night, or I don't.
Several times late night after closing. There's been some speculation whether they're actually open till 4 a.m.
Right.
I'm unaware of
And
them
why
being
she
open till
called,
4.
and
I think
yes.
there are some on college campuses that do stay open that long.
Well,
Why they're made, I have no idea.
And I do believe that she called Domino's at 3:40 a.m. on the night that she was in the supposed catatonic state.
Interesting. Okay. And what do you think about what did anybody think about the rag and the tailpipe? That was another
We could have a whole nother conversation on that whole other
I'm sure we
thing.
could.
It's tough.
That's
I'm baffled by that one.
Yes.
I will say this, I don't believe, for those out there who says she stuck it in the tailpipe to try to commit suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning, that's not the way it works. If you're going to do that, you lock yourself in the garage and start your car. You don't stick a rag in the tailpipe out in the middle of the country.
No.
So why it was there and who put it there, I can't say.
Yeah, and I don't believe, as much as I don't want to believe it, I don't believe she just walked into the woods and just, because when you think they find her belongings by now?
Find something, I would think.
Yeah, so I don't know.
A femur is an awfully big bone to be missed, and a skull, to be missing for this many years and not be stumbled across, or a dog grab it and bring it to your house, or whatever the case may be. Tough to say.
Exactly. This whole case is tough to say. I mean, it's
Agreed.
a tough case,
So let me ask one question. So I remember, and it's been a few weeks months that I've been following it, but the last thing I remember was the A-frame house where the cadaver dogs actually hit on something, but it was never John. What do you feel about that? Do you think there was something there that just was missed, or do you think that there was really nothing there?
I definitely feel that the A-frame plays some part in this whole thing, whether it be a very minute part or one of the biggest pieces in the whole case. And like you guys were just saying, you're talking about a small town, very few people, everybody knows everybody, the police know everybody, the police deal with these characters all the time. They're friends with drug dealers, they're friends with, all kinds of crooked people. And, and not all cops, but certain ones are. And people get away with stuff in these small towns like this. It's, so, and I know for a fact that, and may Cecil rest in peace, but there was rumors going around that he was actually having a little bit of an affair with Sky when Claude, when Claude was away.
Hmm.
So you gotta, you just add all this stuff up. And it certainly points to certain things, but then you get to a brick wall every freaking time. And that is what is so frustrating in this case, is like, you get so far, we took out the carpet was tested. We don't know what the results were. We've never been told that. Fred Murray gave them the knife that came from Claude's brother. Did they test it? We don't know. Did they find it? Of course, we don't know anything. None of that has ever been released. So it might be nothing, but it certainly could be something very, very.
Now,
Jennifer, I saw you,
Thank you.
Jennifer, light up there.
Wait.
All right, anyone, go ahead.
One more thing, another thing is, remember when they say, or they think that maybe wine got spilled in her car? Didn't they say something about that wine? Now, when you think, like, if there was wine spilled in it, there would have been somehow glass in the car, like from broken glass. I mean, like, when you think,
No, the wine was in a box. It was I forget how many gallons in there, but a
Oh,
box
there
of
was, okay.
Franzia wine. And allegedly, Maura would pour that wine into a plastic, say, Diet Coke bottle, stick a Twizzler in there, or drink it through the Twizzler. That was the thing Maura liked to do. So as far as the glass
Okay.
being broken, no, there was no bottles of wine. It was in a box.
Oh,
And no
interesting.
wine glasses, obviously.
Now, at one point in
Okay.
time, the whole thing about the wine box was that they said that they had found it and it was damaged, and behind the driver's side seat, and damaged, and that it had happened in the accident. And I don't know who came out with that. I can't remember if it was something the police said, but there is no way that the minimal amount of damage that happened to the Saturn, and I call it minimal because you could drive the vehicle. There's no way that would have caused the box to be damaged. It would be more likely that somebody was in the back of the car, stepped on it, knelt on it, or whatever.
Interesting.
I watched all kinds of YouTube videos about those boxes of Franzia wine and people trying to like bust the inside thing. You'd blow it up with air and try and like jump on it, and it would bounce you off. That's how solid they
Yeah,
are.
you can stand on a box of Franzia wine.
Yes. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, the red splashes again, if she was drinking the whatever rosé wine or whatever I believe it was out of that box in a plastic bottle, and she got into that little fender bender or whatever happened. Yeah, I can see some stuff splashing around, but to me, it seems like it was way too much splashed around. It seemed like an overabundance of spilled liquid. That's what I think.
And what do you think about Mrs. What's her name? Westman saying that she thinks she saw a man smoking a cigarette in the car. Do you really believe that she saw what she saw, or?
I do believe that she saw a man smoking a cigarette.
Interesting.
And I agree with John. If you've been up there, her window is not that far from where Maura's car allegedly was. There would be no mistaking a man or a woman or smoking a cigarette or seeing a cell phone. It's too close. That night was a clear night. It wasn't foggy. I think she saw what she saw as well. I want to throw one thing back to the wine box being damaged, and I'll just leave it at that. You can use your own imagination. I think there's a good chance if that wine box is damaged, it might have been from someone who was taller than Maura trying to get back into the front seat of a car.
exactly.
Okay.
Pushing it back because they were way too tall. And by too tall, I mean way too tall. And we'll leave it at that.
So
And that would fit along the lines of a male.
Okay,
I have one more question.
Yes,
she's good.
So I actually, I live in Vermont, so I've been there to Maury's, around that area, and I know exactly what everybody's talking about. But my question is, the alcohol they said that she had bought was not all in the car because of the receipt. Am I correct or not?
you want to take that one, John?
So and I'm wondering, so my theory, and I'm not sure, I'm obviously not like an investigator or anything, but my theory is that she had to have been picked up by somebody. And I'm thinking it's from a close friend, but that's just my own theory. And
No, that's shared by quite a few people, probably.
Yeah.
You're not alone. But yeah, as far as the liquor bottles go, everything, the inventory of the car versus the receipt and other things we know about, they do not match. There was some stuff taken from the car that was on the receipts that has never been found. Allegedly was probably stuffed in her backpack, or if she took a duffel bag of some type with her, or if whomever took it out of the car, put it that way.
Interesting.
Jeff,
What
can I ask a
is-
question?
Yes, is that Ryan?
Yeah,
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah.
you've been up there a few times, I take it?
Myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been up there.
Okay, so you're since you've been working with John on this, you're probably aware that the original police on scene time was 7:46,
Correct.
but there was a witness that came by, witness A, Karen, came by around 7:37, saw a cop car there.
Approximately that time, yes.
So you're in agreement with that so far? And did you talk to Karen yourself ever?
I have talked to Karen, yes.
Because she says she distinctly remembers the blue police lights when the police light passed her. Now, the lights were in front of her. She could see them kind of over the hills and in the distance as they were going past. Is that description still accurate?
As far as I know, yes. Her story is, unlike nearly everyone else, her story has never changed.
Okay.
She did see the blue lights, and as far as she said, she saw 001
Okay. So
on an
that's
SUV.
the reason I find that interesting is because for the longest time when the police on scene time was 7:46, that fit perfectly fine with Butch Atwood calling 911 and relaying his message at 7:43. Now we have a message from Chuck West to Fred Murray in 2019. There was an email that Chuck West sent to Fred because Fred was asking this question. He said, when did Butch Atwood call 911? Because we've always had that Grafton got the message at 7:43. Well, Chuck West told Fred Murray, Butch Atwood called 911 at 7:42. So that's over 5 minutes later than police have already been on scene. So when Karen passed at 7:37 and Butch is calling at 7:42, why is Butch not mentioning that he can see a police car from over on his porch? Why is he not mentioning he sees a police car at Morris Saturn yet?
That's a good question. I believe he would have had to have seen it. And I don't really believe a lot of what Butch had to say in his reports. Like I said, he changed his story 3 times. He would have absolutely seen blue lights from his porch.
Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate that. That was my suspicion, and I've seen in multiple occasions people saying that you could easily see blue police lights from Butch's porch. John has mentioned on Twitter that unless Butch was in the bathroom in his house for 10 minutes or whatever, then he would obviously see that there was someone there. Because it's easy enough to see blue police lights from just down. It's not even a city block from where the Saturn was to Atwood's. So there's something clearly going on with Atwood there. If he's going to call at 7:42, pardon me?
There's not a lot of lighting as far as street lights or anything. So any light that comes on, you're going to see it, especially if it's a blue flashing light.
Right. So it would be obvious. So when you now look at Atwood's account, there's a lot of problems there. And when you consider that Cecil let Atwood leave at 8 p.m., but also dismiss the emergency medical services, why would he dismiss emergency medical services at 8, but allow Atwood, he has no authority to apprehend Maura, and he has no
Right.
physical ability to catch her if he does see her. Plus, she's already told him she's not getting in with him. So why is Cecil making that calculation? Oh, we'll send this guy instead of someone who's trained to help her if she's in trouble, if they do find her.
That is the $64,000 question, or one of them. You may have seen, and I know Ryan's in several of the rooms that I'm in as well, but I'd made a post maybe, I don't know, a month or so ago. Kind of lost track of where I was going here with this one, but mentioning the fact that maybe different things that Butch had said made no sense. But like you just said, you have the same questions I have because they don't make sense. One thing that I've wondered about, and I don't know the answer to this question, is how did Butch contact 911 to begin with? Was he making a call from his CB radio? Was he calling from a house phone? I don't know, because there's some of those parts that are redacted from the police logs that we've seen.
Right.
Why that's redacted makes no sense to me. So there's something in there that they don't want seen.
I completely agree. And I mean, if you believe what someone from the community had supposedly talked to Barb about this specifically, and Barb said that the only phone in the house at the Atwoods was on the porch, and that being the porch, if you've seen the old pictures, porch facing the road. So again, there's no reason he can't see some blue police lights flooding from Maura's Saturn, just like witness A saw when the police car passed her with his lights on, and then she subsequently passed that police car. So that tells me that maybe when Cecil had that conversation with Butch, went to the bus, is it possible that Butch just said, hey, I'm going to drive this girl out of here? And, you know, an earlier cop radioed over around 7:15 or whatever and said, you know, driver is left in a personal vehicle. That's me. I'm the personal vehicle. And is it possible that Cecil begrudgingly said, well, okay, just get out of here, and looked the other way and then turned around and dismissed emergency medical services? That's where I'm starting to lean, Jeff, because of Atwood's statements that make no sense. And just to be clear, I'll stop with this rant, but I think that a lot of people miss this because for so long, police said specifically, we were on scene at 7:46, 7:46, 7:46. Witness A is crazy. Karen is crazy. She didn't see what she saw. That was not real. They kept saying that. So people said, well, okay, I mean, if the police are correct. But then you have Art and Maggie, they come by and they say, actually, witness A was accurate. Cecil was there. Maggie released her own timeline on Facebook, said Cecil was there at 7:35. Well, that's a good 5 minutes before Atwood makes that call, and he doesn't mention anything about cops on the scene. But what does he get in there? He gets a tree. This driver supposedly hit a tree, and this car is not drivable. It's suspect.
Makes no sense. Yeah, the 7:35 we never heard about until 2 years ago. It was always 7:46. The 7:35 was made, in my opinion, made up to fit what they were trying to put out as kind of the new narrative.
Well, you'd think that, but it's always been Karen's narrative, like you said. Karen's always said it had to have been around that time, you know, by tracing back when she made her call when she got into service. So we've always kind of known, haven't been able to prove it till Art and Maggie came along, that cops were there at 7:35.
Well, some police car was there at 7:35, but it wasn't the ones that were called to be out there for the accident.
Yeah, and that's
Ryan, real quick
I
before I
don't
forget,
make bones about that, but in my opinion, the fact that there was a police car there at all, that should show up in Atwood's call if he's not being mischievous about it, if he's not doing something other than just getting a 911 call alibi. You know, he should have said, I'm looking at a cop over there already, right?
Butch may be an unwilling participant in the cover-ups, most likely is what I'm thinking. Want to go back to one thing, and I lost track of this before when I was thinking, but you're absolutely correct. Why would Cecil dismiss EMS after, I don't have the logs in front of me, but what was it, 5, 6 minutes, 8 minutes? When you've got a potentially, according to them, a potentially intoxicated girl who's been involved in an accident, who can't be found, possibly wandering in the woods in the cold. But let's go ahead and possible head injuries and trauma. but let's go ahead and dismiss the EMS right away. When they had 2 EMS units on call that night, they weren't the only ambulance available. There was another one. So yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. But yet fire stayed on scene, till that's what I said, look logs, but way better than an hour or more.
Yes.
Do you think, Maura, do you think her car was staged?
Where we're being
Well, I
told it
just don't
was,
see why Butch Atwood, sorry,
Maybe.
go ahead. You
No.
believe? I just don't see why Butch would help somebody randomly. Like, why would he even involve himself? If there was guys at the car when the bus showed up, why wouldn't he just go home and never say another word about it? Why get on there and call 911 and lie? She hit a tree, her car's not drivable. He doesn't know those things. Like, he doesn't know those things.
and the thing I was mentioning before too, what I had posted there a month ago or so was, if you do the math on it, I put the average human, I believe, walks about 3.5 miles per hour. There's no way that Cecil could have got there, went to the Westmans, talked to them, walked to Butch's, which his car was allegedly left there. And I said car, which I do mean car, cruiser, and got to Butch's and talked with him. It just makes no sense. There's something there with that timeline as well.
Does it make no sense from 7:46 till 8 or from 7:35 till 8? Could it make more sense?
It could make more sense at the 7:35. And I think that's part of the reason that someone in law enforcement finally started doing the math and going, hey, these numbers that are true, they don't match what we're trying to put out there. We have to change it. So they bumped the time back to 7:35 and gives them reason why Karen saw their car there at 7:35. Otherwise, I don't think they had an explanation for it that they could publicize anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you
So-
for, it's always been a hole I needed to fill to find Kid Butch. I mean, I'd heard it from John. I heard it from a guest on the prosecutor's podcast. I've heard it from Aaron has tweeted it saying, yeah, you could see the Saturn relatively from Butch's driveway, like from in his yard. And so after hearing this so many times, when people say, Butch called late because he couldn't see the police car, I knew that was a lie. I always knew that was bullshit. I just could never actually get there myself because of COVID and look at it. But hearing you say this as a local is really important to me. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
I will say I'm not local, but I've been there and checked it out.
Okay.
John and I, and actually we may allude to this here in a little bit. John and I did a lot of interviews with folks in 2019. Very interesting, especially the tow truck drivers. We spoke to both of them, and very interesting. We'll go into that here in just a little bit as well, perhaps.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
I,
Did anybody
sorry.
Hey, Jeff,
Did you talk to
can
any
you
of
some
the-
people that are texting me asking to get into the room?
Okay. I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
No?
Nope. If you're texting back, I would just say follow the link, because I think most of the people who have signed on following the link have had no issues.
Okay.
I do not see anybody in the waiting room.
So I just want to
When you
say
guys
one thing, okay? So Ryan said he's sorry about ranting on about everything, but I appreciate everything that I'm hearing from everybody. So it's a really good thing that we are talking about this, because it becomes open again. And I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome. I will say this as well. This is, like I said, this is my first time hosting these. I hope we do several more of them. And this is one thing that I think everybody in the community and certain events have led us to this. I think we're more together right now than possibly ever been. And there's not a problem with any of us having different opinions of what happened, because there are so few facts we just don't know. Even myself and John, everybody thinks that me and John agree on everything. We took a lot of heat for that, and I took a lot of heat for that. You always used to believe what John. No, John and I disagree a lot, but we talk about it and say, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe that could have happened that way. And if everybody would just follow that lead, there wouldn't be so much of this infighting amongst the community just because you disagree with someone's theory. Like I said, I think I have about 5 theories that are plausible, not just possible, plausible. And 4 of them have to be wrong. If one is right, 4 of them have to be wrong, and none of the 5 may be right. So I always have no problem listening to other people's theory as long as it makes sense and it's not, there's a difference between possible and plausible.
Mm.
And I think that's a big thing to think about.
Now I have a question, another question. Do you remember, I have two. There was I think someone said that they went to a house, but they were not allowed to search it. Do you remember that? Remember that?
Yes, I'm assuming you mean
Now,
the house that was
did they have a
recently.
search warrant to search it? Maybe that's why they couldn't search it. Do you think Maura is there at this person's house?
Well, I'd like to know which house you mean. I'm assuming you're talking about the house where the recent dig was in 2019.
I don't know if it's that one or if it's,
There was
is that
someone
that
who,
one or is it,
there was
or
someone
what's
who
his name?
lived, there had been rumors. I'm sorry?
Saffro, or what's Rick Safria, the cement guy?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a totally different place, but I've heard those rumors as well. I don't know them to be false or true, but I can
Yeah.
tell you they have not gotten any search warrant. To my knowledge, I've never tried to get a search warrant. And that could be
Okay,
just for the fact of, I don't want to put the guy's name out there. Everyone knows who we're talking about, obviously.
yeah, I don't
Not
want to
going to
say
put the
much
guy's
either,
name
yeah.
out there if he's not involved, but they have no reason to search his house, or certain things are in place that would not allow a search warrant to be issued. And I'll just kind of leave that one at that because of who controls things in that area. Let's just say that.
Yes, and hopefully they find out what happened to what's her name, Brianna Maitland too. That's another one. I mean,
Yeah, well, we may discuss that at another time, but let's keep this one more. But yeah, that's hers is quite interesting as well.
yes, but the other one is, which I find also odd. Back at when Maura went with no wait, what was it? Like when Maura went to her father's hotel, no one ever said like, oh well, yes, we saw Maura, we saw her, she was, feeling okay, or like as if she just, I don't know. I mean, I would think that if you were at the hotel, you would see a young woman looking for my father's hotel room. I mean, I don't understand why. Don't they usually have cameras at the hotel?
John, you
I
want to handle that
mean,
one, or
I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand
I
all
mean,
this.
I don't know. I assume that she knew where his hotel room was because he already had it before,
Right.
but the story that I heard originally was that when Maura first got back to the hotel room, she did not immediately go upstairs because she was so upset, and that she was sitting in the entryway or the waiting room of the
Oh.
hotel and crying and sobbing. And then in another account, I heard that when she got there, she went straight up to the room and went to bed. And
Okay.
didn't tell her father about the vehicle until later. And we know that she didn't have her cell phone with her, and that it was left at the dorm room, and Sarah had it. And we know that there was 2 calls made from Fred Murray's cell phone to Billy sometime during the early morning hours of Sunday.
Interesting. Okay.
John, are you speaking of the call made from Fred's phone?
Yeah. Yes.
2 of them.
Very
I put 2 in a
interesting.
row, I believe.
Oh, there's
I'd have
two.
to-
I
I'd have
didn't
to go
know.
back look,
Okay.
but I know of one for certain. There may have been 2.
Yeah, I don't have any. It's all by recollection. All this is in my brain. I don't have any paper in front of me. Everything is just from out of my head.
But you
So
guys are
Yeah.
doing a great job.
thank you.
Thank you.